Hi, welcome to the tutorial for Grun the Druid Bear. We're going to jump right into it and we're going to begin by crocheting the head and body. So grab your brown yarn and your hook and let's get started. The first round has already been made for you, so gently pull it out from the center and let's take a closer look at everything. Arrange it so that this big loop is on the right hand side. This is where we're going to insert our hook. And we want to tighten this loop so that it fits nicely around the hook. Not too loose, not too tight. If you're confused about how to hold the yarn, there are many ways to hold it to help you keep a nice tension. You can wrap it around your pointer finger a couple times, or my favorite way is to bring it up between my pointer and middle fingers, then gently hold the loose yarn against my palm with my ring and pinky fingers. The main thing is that you feel comfortable, so don't overthink it too much. Now let's take a look at this first round and figure out what everything is. The first round is made out of 6 single crochets, and the top of them look like little V's. So starting from where our hook is, that's 6, 5, 4, and this stitch marker is marking the third, then the second, and this is the first single crochet. So our first round is basically done. To finish every round, we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch of the round and make a slip stitch. So remove the stitch marker from the first one. Insert your hook under both of these loops of the stitch, the little V. And when you're ready, you're going to yarn over, which means to place the yarn on top of your hook, and then pull it through the stitch, which means pull it through the 2 loops. You should now have 2 loops on your hook. To finish making the slip stitch, all you need to do is pull the first loop through the second loop on your hook. And that's our slip stitch done. Now we're going to chain 1 to get ready for the next round. To make a chain, you need to yarn over and pull it through the loop on your hook. And now we're ready to begin round 2. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch around. Increasing means making 2 single crochets in the same stitch. We're going to make the first increase in the stitch we just made a slip stitch into. So insert your hook into the same spot, then yarn over and pull it back through the stitch. You should now have 2 loops on your hook. To finish the single crochet, yarn over again and pull it through both of the loops on your hook. That's our first single crochet. To help you keep track of the beginning, grab your stitch marker and insert it into the single crochet we just made. Just insert it under both loops of the little V. Now we need to make 1 more single crochet into the same stitch. Insert your hook, yarn over, and pull the loop back through the stitch. Yarn over, and pull through both loops. And now we've made the first increase. We're going to repeat that 5 more times now, making an increase into every stitch. So when you're ready, remove the stitch marker from the next stitch and make 2 single crochets in it. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull it back through the stitch, yarn over, and pull through both loops. And now make another single crochet in the same stitch. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, and pull through both loops. A little tip is to let your hook do all of the work for you. When you've made your single crochet, try to avoid pulling or tugging the yarn. This is going to make the stitch really tight and it'll be harder to insert your hook into it later. Just let your hook do all of the work for you. Continue making an increase in every stitch and I'll meet you at the end. I'm going to speed this up now, but you can adjust the speed in the settings to slow it down if you need to. I just finished making my last increase. You should have made 12 single crochets. So quickly count and make sure you didn't miss any or make any extra. If you have extra, then you may have worked into the slip stitch, which we don't want to do. We're always going to ignore the slip stitch and chain one. We'll only be working into single crochets. Once you're done, we're going to finish the round with a slip stitch and chain one. So remove the stitch marker from the first single crochet, then insert your hook into that stitch and make a slip stitch. Yarn over and pull it through, then pull it through the loop on your hook. And then chain one. Yarn over and pull it through the loop on your hook. Now it's time for round 3. For this round, we're going to single crochet in the first, increase in the next, then single crochet, then increase, repeated over and over until we reach the end. So let's go ahead and insert our hook into the first stitch where we work the slip stitch and make a single crochet. And don't forget to place your stitch marker in it so we don't lose track at the beginning. And now we're going to increase in the next stitch. So make the first single crochet, and then insert your hook in there again and make the second single crochet. Now make one single crochet in the next stitch. And again, increase in the next. And now we need to make another one single crochet in the next stitch. And increase in the next. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up now, but feel free to slow it down if you need to, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. So I'm working into the final stitch now, which is going to be an increase. And then as always, we're going to ignore this slip stitch and chain one. When you finish, do a quick little count of your round to make sure you have 18 single crochets. And we're going to remove the stitch marker from the first stitch and make a slip stitch in it. And then chain one to get ready for the next round. Round 4. For this round, we're going to make a single crochet in the first stitch, then an increase, then a single crochet. And then we'll repeat that 5 more times. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, over and over again. So let's make our first single crochet. And don't forget to put your stitch marker in there. Now we're going to increase in the next stitch. There's 1 and 2, and 1 single crochet in each of the next 2. Now we'll do another increase. 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Continue until you reach the end of the round, where in the last 2 stitches you're going to work an increase and then 1 single crochet in the very last one. But I'm going to go ahead and speed this up now, and I'll meet you at the end. You should have made 24 stitches in this round. And now, as always, I'm going to remove the stitch marker, slip stitch to the first one, and then chain one. Now it's time for round 5. This time we're going to do single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, increase. So let's make our first one. And don't forget your stitch marker. 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Perfect. And then work 1 single crochet in the next. And now we're going to increase in the next one. There's 1. And 2. And now you're going to repeat that 5 more times. I'm going to speed it up now, and I'll meet you at the end. Awesome. So you should have made 30 single crochets this round. And what do we do at the very end? Slip stitch and chain 1. For rounds 6, 7, 8, and 9, so 4 rounds total, all we're going to be doing is working 1 single crochet into every stitch around. Keep making sure that you're ignoring the slip stitch though, but super duper easy. So let's insert the hook into the first stitch and make a single crochet. And that's all we're doing in every stitch. As always, don't forget your stitch marker as well. I'll do a couple more with you and then I'll speed it up and meet you at the end. Once you've made your last single crochet, remove the stitch marker and slip stitch to the first one and chain 1. And now you're going to make 3 more rounds of single crochet in every stitch. I'll do a little check-in after each round so you can see how it looks. Here's round 7. It's really starting to become rounded now. And round 8, it looks like a beanie for a cute little doll now. And the final round, round 9. Maybe do a quick stitch count to make sure you made 30 single crochets, and then we'll get started on round 10. For round 10, we're going to work a single crochet in the first 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to decrease in the next, which means we're going to turn 2 stitches into 1. Let's make our first 3 single crochets, and then we'll learn how to decrease. For the decrease, instead of inserting the hook under both loops, we're going to insert it under only the front loop, the one that's closer to you. And then we're going to insert our hook into the back loop of the next stitch, the loop that's farther away from you. I'll show you that one more time. We're going to insert under the front loop of the first one and the back loop of the second one. Now you can yarn over and pull it through both of those loops. And then finish the single crochet as normal. Yarn over again and pull through both loops on your hook. Now make one single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. If you're confused about which is the next, it'll be the one that's completely untouched and you can see both loops of it very clearly. And now it's time to do another decrease. Insert your hook under the front loop of the first one, then insert your hook under the back loop of the next one, and finish as normal. Yarn over and pull it through. Yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up now, but go ahead and repeat this 4 more times and then I'll meet you at the end. Great job, everyone. The last stitch you made should have been a decrease before slip stitching to the first and chaining 1, and you should have 24 stitches now. So go ahead and do a quick count just to make sure. And now we're on round 11. For this round, we're going to single crochet in the first one, then we're going to make a decrease, and then a single crochet in the next one. And we'll do that 6 times total until we reach the end. So I'll do the first ones with you. Make your single crochet in the first stitch. And now make a decrease. And then a single crochet in the next one. And now just repeat that 5 more times and then I'll meet you at the end. Single crochet, decrease, single crochet, single crochet, decrease, single crochet. Awesome. The last stitch you made should have been a single crochet before slip stitching and chaining 1, and you should now have 18 stitches. Let's start round 12. For this round, we're going to be starting with the single crochet and then a decrease, and then alternating that all the way around. Single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease. So let's make the first single crochet. And then place the stitch marker in it. Now let's do a decrease. Then a single crochet. And another decrease. And now just continue repeating that until you reach the end. Your last stitch will be a decrease and you should have 12 stitches at the end. Here's how it's looking now. Super cute, but before we move on to the next round, we need to insert the eyes. Grab your stitch marker and place it in the loop that's on your hook. We're doing this so that our project can't accidentally come undone while we insert the eyes. So right above the stitch marker, you should see a bunch of little lines. This seam is where all of the slip stitches are and also marks the back of the head. So I like to position the head so that these are in the middle. And now we need to count the rows to figure out where the eyes go. We want to place them between rounds 6 and 7. So starting from this circle on the very tip top, this is round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we want to have about 5 stitches between the eyes. So grab your first eye and place it a few stitches from the middle using the seam in the back to help you line it up. Just insert it right between the rows, right between the stitches. Try not to go through the middle of one. And then count 5 stitches or 5 of these little V's and insert the second one. Take a little look at it and adjust as necessary. And when you're ready, we're going to place the backing on the eyes. Push the eye down to the hole at the bottom of the project so that you can see the back of it, and just press the backing down on it. And then do the same for the second eye. And now we're going to stuff the head. We'll need some more for the body later, so don't use all of it. You want it to fill up the head while still remaining nice and squishy. As you're stuffing it, try to push the fluff around the walls of the head before filling up the middle. And just do some little checks to see if any part of the head looks deflated or empty, and stuff accordingly. When you think you're done, do a little squeeze test just to make sure it's staying in the right shape. Great job, everybody. And now we're going to begin round 13, which is the start of the body. Insert your hook into the loop and remove the stitch marker from it. For this round, we're going to work an increase in every stitch around. I'll do the first couple with you, and then I'll meet you at the end. So there's my first single crochet. Don't forget to put your stitch marker in it. And there's my second one. Now let's increase in the next stitch. Fantastic. Do 10 more increases, and then I'll meet you at the end where you should have made 24 single crochets as well as your slip stitch and chain 1. Fantastic. And now we have a cute little neck. And now for rounds 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, so 5 rounds total, all we're going to be doing is working 1 single crochet into every stitch around. Easy peasy. So I'll do a little check-in after every round so you can compare yours to mine, but I'll officially come back for round 19. Here's round 14. Here's round 15. Here's round 16. Here's round 17. And here's round 18. Great job, everybody. Now let's get ready for round 19. We're going to close the bottom of the bear with these next few rounds. For this round, we're going to work a single crochet in the first one, then a decrease, then another single crochet, decrease, single crochet. Repeated a total of 6 times around. So let's make our first single crochet. And don't forget your stitch marker. And now let's decrease. And now 1 single crochet in the next. And now we'll repeat that. Single crochet, decrease, and single crochet. Repeat that 4 more times, and I'll meet you at the end where your last stitch will be a single crochet. All right, so you should now have 18 stitches, And let's get started on round 20. For this one, we're going to make a single crochet in the first stitch, then a decrease, single crochet, decrease, repeated all the way around. So let's make our first single crochet. And now let's decrease. Then single crochet into the next stitch. And decrease. And repeat that 4 more times, ending with the decrease, and I'll see you at the end. You should now have 12 stitches. Now we need to stuff the body, so just put the stitch marker in the loop where your hook is and stuff it just like we did with the head. Let's do round 21 now, our final round. We're going to decrease all the way around, and I'll do the whole thing with you. So let's make our first decrease. And put the stitch marker in there. Second decrease. Third decrease. Fourth decrease. Fifth decrease. And our final decrease. We now have 6 stitches. Let's finish the round by slip stitching to the first. Then chain 1. And now we're going to cut the yarn, but leave a nice long tail so that we can close this hole. And once you cut the yarn, then you can use your hook to pull the yarn up and through that chain 1, and then just give it a nice little tug to fully secure it. Grab your needle and bring the end of the yarn through the hole. I like to put the end next to it and kind of rub it through. Alrighty, so to close this hole, we're going to insert the needle through the front loop of every stitch, starting with our very first one that we slip stitched into. Go from the outside to the inside and just under the front loop, which is the loop that's closer to you. And now do the same with the next stitch. Keep going, inserting it through the front loop of all of them. And once you're done, we're going to pull the yarn and it'll close up the circle. Great job, everyone. And now we're going to finish this by inserting the needle through a nearby stitch and have it come out somewhere through the bear. It can be the back, the top, the front. You just want it to go through some fluff, and that's going to help secure it. And then repeat that a few more times, inserting your needle back into the space it came out of and have it come out on an opposite side. Once you're done, then you can trim any excess and hide the end inside your bear. Alrighty, and since we have the brown yarn out, let's go ahead and make his feet. We need to start by making a magic ring. I'm going to show you my favorite way to make one. If you're an advanced crocheter, then feel free to make it the traditional way. Take the yarn with your right hand, and you want to bring it up between your pointer and middle fingers of your left hand, and then use your ring and pinky fingers to hold the working yarn against your palm. You want to have a nice long tail to work with. Now pinch the tail of the yarn with your middle finger and thumb. Right now it should kind of feel like you're going to snap your fingers with your pointer finger sticking up. Now take the tail and make a loop that goes under the point that you're pinching and re-pinch it. Just like that. And this is our magic ring. Now take your hook and insert it into the ring with your hook facing down. Grab the yarn and bring it through the ring. Then twist the hook towards you and up and chain one. Great job. Now we're going to make 8 single crochets into the ring. And don't forget your stitch marker. Once you've made 8 single crochets, then you can pull the tail to close the ring. And as always, to finish a round, we need to slip stitch to the first one and chain one. And now for rounds 2 and 3, so 2 rounds total, all we're going to do is single crochet into every stitch around. So insert your hook into the very first stitch and make a single crochet. And then make a single crochet into the next one. And just keep going until you reach the end. Finish with your slip stitch and chain one. And do that all over again. Make 8 single crochets, 1 into every stitch around. Great job. Finish with your slip stitch and chain one. And now we're going to cut the yarn, and we want to have a nice long tail that we'll use to sew the feet on later. And once you've cut the yarn, then you can use your hook to pull the yarn up and through that chain one, and then just give it a nice little tug to fully secure it. And now make another foot before we move on to making the hands. For the hands, we need to start with the magic ring again. So bring the tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm with your ring finger and pinky. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb. And then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and re-pinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring. Twist towards you and up and chain one. Now we want to make 6 single crochets into the ring. And don't forget to put the stitch marker on the first one. Once you've made 6, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, slip stitch to the first and chain one to get ready for the next round. Now for rounds 2, 3, and 4, so 3 rounds total, all we're doing is single crocheting around, working 1 single crochet into every stitch. So I'll do the first round with you and then do check-ins for the rest so you can see how it's supposed to look. Finish with a slip stitch and chain one as always. Here's how round 3 looks, and here's how round 4 looks. Once you've made your slip stitch and chain one, then we can cut the yarn. And again, we want to have a nice long tail so that we can use it to attach to the body later. And then just use your hook to pull the yarn and bring the tail through the chain one and give it a nice tug to fully secure it. Perfect, and now you can go ahead and make one more hand. And once you're done, this is a great stopping point to rest your hands. And in the next part, we'll make the clothing and accessories. We're going to make his cap first, so grab your green yarn and we'll get started. We're going to begin by making a magic ring. Bring the tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm with your ring finger and pinky. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb, and then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and repinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring. Twist towards you and up, and chain one. Now we want to make 8 half double crochets into the ring. To make a half double crochet, begin by yarning over, then insert your hook into the ring, yarn over and bring it through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over one more time and pull through all 3 loops. And don't forget to put your stitch marker on the first one. One more time, how to make a half double crochet. Yarn over first, insert your hook, yarn over and pull it through, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Now make 6 more half double crochets. Once you've made 8, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, slip stitch to the first and chain one to get ready for the next round. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch. We're going to work 2 half double crochets into every stitch. So begin by yarning over, then insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over again and pull it through, yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops. Make another half double crochet into the same stitch. And now we're going to work 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. Perfect. Now repeat that in the next 6 stitches, working 2 half double crochets into each one, and I'll meet you at the end. You should have made 16 half double crochets total and ended with your slip stitch and chain one. For round 3, we're going to half double crochet in the first stitch, increase in the next, then 1 half double crochet, then an increase, repeated all the way around. So let's make our 1 half double crochet in the first stitch, And now we're going to make 2 half double crochets in the next. Great, and now 1 half double crochet in the next. And 2 half double crochets in the next. Repeat that 6 more times, ending with an increase in the last stitch, and join to the first with a slip stitch and chain 1. Awesome, you should have made 24 half double crochets in this round. For round 4, we're going to work 1 half double crochet in each of the first 2 stitches and increase in the next one. Half double crochet, increase all the way around. So let's get this one started. Work 1 half double crochet in the first stitch, then 1 half double crochet in the next, and now we're going to increase. Work 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, and I'll do it one more time with you. 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, 1 half double crochet in the next, and now an increase in the next. Repeat that 6 more times, ending with an increase in the last stitch, and then join to the first with your slip stitch and chain 1, and I'll meet you there. Great job. Do a quick count and make sure that you made 32 stitches in this round. For round 5, we're going to work 1 half double crochet in the first 3 stitches, and then an increase. Half double crochet, half double crochet, half double crochet, increase all the way around. So 1 half double crochet in the very first stitch, 1 half double crochet in the next, and 1 more half double crochet in the next stitch. And now we're going to increase in the next one. Let's do it one more time together. 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, 1 more half double crochet in the next, and now an increase in the next one. Perfect. Now repeat that 6 more times and I'll meet you at the end where you'll increase in the last stitch and then join to the first with a slip stitch and chain 1. Good job, everybody. You should have made 40 stitches in this round. Now for rounds 6, 7, and 8, so 3 rounds total, all you're going to do is work 1 half double crochet into every stitch around. I'll get this round started with you, and then I'll show you how it looks at the end of the next 3 rounds. Alrighty, so super easy, right? Keep going and I'll see you for the check-ins. Here's how it looks at the end of round 6. Here's round 7. And here's round 8. We have one more round and then this is finished. For round 9, we're going to work 1 half double crochet in each of the first 4 stitches and then an increase in the 5th. So let's make our 1 half double crochet in the first stitch, Perfect, and then 1 half double crochet in the next one. 1 half double crochet in the next. And 1 more half double crochet in the next one. And now we're going to make our increase. Awesome, now you need to do that 7 more times, and then I'll meet you at the end. Perfect, you should have made 48 stitches in this round, so do a quick count. And when you're done, then you can cut the yarn. Don't worry about leaving a super long tail, just make it long enough to weave in later. We're going to make all of the green accessories, so next let's make his clothing. We need to start by making a slip knot. Wrap the tail around your finger to make a loop, and now slide the loop off your finger, and then take the tail and bring it behind the loop. Then you can take it and pull it through the loop, and now we have our slip knot. Insert your hook, and we're going to chain 22. So chain, chain, chain until you have 22. Awesome, and the loop on your hook is not a chain, just so you know. Now flip the chain over so that we're looking at the back of it and not the little V's. You should see a bunch of little dashes. These are called the back bumps, and that's where we're going to make all of our half double crochets. We're going to skip the first 2 and make a half double crochet in the 3rd back bump. So yarn over and insert your hook into the 3rd back bump. Yarn over and pull it through. Then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Great job. I forgot to do it, but feel free to place a stitch marker in the first one to help you keep track of it. And now all we're doing is working 1 half double crochet into every back bump. I'll do a few more with you and then meet you at the end. Okie dokie, so I just reached the end and I'm going to make my last half double crochet in the very last back bump here. So you should have made 20 half double crochets, and now you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. And now for rows 2, 3, 4, and 5, so 4 rows total, all we're doing is working 1 half double crochet into every stitch. So make sure you've yarned over and then insert your hook into the first stitch. Yarn over and pull it through. Then yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops. Great job, and feel free to place a stitch marker on the first to help you find it later. Continue working a half double crochet into every stitch, and I'll meet you at the end. Alrighty, so I just reached the end and I'm making my last half double crochet. And that was row 2. Now I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work. For rows 3, 4, and 5, all you're doing is working 1 half double crochet into every stitch, then chaining 2 and turning your work. So I'll show you how it looks after each row, and then I'll come back to help finish it up. Here's row 3. Here's row 4. And here's row 5. To finish it, we're going to chain 1 and then cut the yarn. We want to have a long tail that we'll use to attach this to our cap. So I'm going to drape it back and forth across the length of it a few times to make sure it's long enough. And now you can cut it. And pull the tail through the chain 1 and give the yarn a little tug to tighten and secure the knot. Fantastic job! Now we're going to make our last green accessory, the cute little ears. We need to begin by making a magic ring. Bring the tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm with your ring finger and pinky. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb, and then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and re-pinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring, twist towards you and up, and chain 1. Now we want to make 8 single crochets into the ring. And don't forget your stitch marker on the first one. Once you've made 8, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, slip stitch to the first and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. Alrighty, so we just need to make one more round for the ears, and all we're doing is working 1 single crochet into every stitch around. So insert your hook into the very first stitch and make a single crochet. Awesome, now make 7 more single crochets. I'm going to speed it up, but feel free to slow it down in the settings if you need to. Perfect, and once you've made your 8 single crochets, then slip stitch to the first, chain 1, and we're going to cut the yarn. Leave a nice long tail that we're going to use to attach this to the cap later. And once you cut the yarn, then you can use your hook to pull the yarn up and through that chain 1, and then just give it a nice little tug to fully secure it. And then just pop the ear so it's right side out. We want it curving with the tail from our magic ring on the inside. And now you just need to repeat all of that and make one more ear, and then we'll move on to the next step. Let's make the little nose now. Grab the off-white yarn and we'll get started. We need to begin by making a magic ring again. So bring the tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm with your ring finger and pinky. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb. And then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and re-pinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring, twist towards you and up, and chain 1. And we want to make 6 single crochets into the ring. Once you've made 6, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, slip stitch to the first and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. For round 2, we're going to make a single crochet in the first stitch, then increase in the next, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. So let's make our first single crochet. Perfect, and now we'll increase in the next. Now we're going to repeat that 2 more times. I'm going to speed it up, but feel free to slow it down. Great job, everyone. Now slip stitch to the first, chain 1, and we'll cut the yarn. We want to leave a nice long tail that we'll use to sew this onto the bear later. And then you can just use your hook to pull the tail up through the loop, give it a little tug to secure the knot. And now you can set that aside and we'll move on to the next part. We're getting so close to the end. We're going to make his little scarf now. So grab your khaki colored yarn and we'll get started. We need to start by making a slip knot. So wrap the tail around your finger to make the loop. Slide the loop off your finger. Then take the tail and bring it behind the loop. Then you can take it and pull it through the loop, and now we have our slip knot. Insert your hook, and we're going to chain 26. So chain, chain, chain until you have 26. All we're doing for this row is making single crochets, and we're going to work into the back bumps again. So turn your chain over, skip the very first back bump, and insert your hook into the second back bump and make a single crochet. Feel free to place a stitch marker in there to help you find it later. Continue making a single crochet into every back bump all the way to the end, and that's where I'll meet you. So I just made my last single crochet. You should have made 25 single crochets total. When you're ready, chain 2 and turn your work. And now we're going to make a half double crochet into every stitch across the row. So yarn over and insert your hook into the very first stitch. Yarn over and pull it through, then yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops. Continue making a half double crochet into every stitch all the way to the end, and I'll meet you to finish it up. Great job, everyone. You should have made 25 half double crochets total. When you're done, chain 1 and we'll cut the yarn. We're going to use the tail to sew the ends together and attach it to the bear, so leave a nice long tail to do that, and then pull the tail through the chain 1 to secure it. Last accessory, we're going to make the magic wand now. This is made in 2 parts, the long stick and then the shorter branch that we'll attach later. So grab your dark brown yarn and let's get started. We need to begin by making a magic ring. Bring the tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm with your ring finger and pinky. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb, and then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and repinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring. Twist towards you and up and chain 1. Now we want to make 4 single crochets into the ring. Once you've made 4, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, we're going to slip stitch to the first one, which is so far away. So once you've inserted your hook, pull the yarn so that the first and last stitches come closer together. And then finish making your slip stitch. And then chain 1, and we'll get ready for the next round. For rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, so 10 rounds total, all we're doing is making 1 single crochet into every stitch. I'll do the first round with you. Make a single crochet into the very first stitch. And don't forget your stitch marker. And now we need to make 3 more single crochets. And there's the final one. Finish by slip stitching to the first and chain 1. And I'll do a few check-ins so you can compare yours to mine. Here's round 6. Here's round 8. And here's round 11. Now we're going to fasten off and close up this hole. And now we'll cut the yarn. We're going to use this tail to close this hole, so leave a few inches. And now we're just going to close this the same way we closed the bottom of the bear. So take your needle and insert the tail of the yarn in the hole of the needle. Now insert it away from you through the front loop of the first stitch. Then the second, then the third, and finally bring it through the last one. Once you're all done, then you can pull the yarn to close it up. Awesome, and now you can insert it through a nearby little gap and bring it through the body of the stick to hide the yarn. Cut the excess and use your hook to fully hide it. Now let's make the shorter branch. Begin by making a magic ring. Make your chain 1, and now make 4 single crochets into the magic ring. Place your stitch marker on the first one if you need to. Once you're ready, then pull the yarn to close the ring. And now we need to slip stitch the first one, but don't forget to pull the yarn to bring the first and last stitches together. Perfect, then finish the slip stitch and chain 1. Now for rounds 2 and 3, so 2 rounds total, all we're doing is working 1 single crochet into every stitch. Finish the round as always with a slip stitch and chain 1. And then repeat that one more time for round 3. Work 1 single crochet into every stitch. Great job, guys. Once you're done, then you can make your slip stitch and chain 1, and we'll cut the yarn. We're going to use this tail to attach this to our longer stick, so make sure you give yourself at least a few inches. And now we've crocheted everything. This is a great stopping point to rest your hands, and in the next part, we'll sew everything together. We're going to begin by sewing his nose on. Start by twisting and hiding your magic ring end inside of the nose to get it out of the way. Now let's figure out where it's going. We want this sewn on between rounds 7 and 9, so we want the top of the nose in line with the eyes. Make sure the snout is centered properly, then thread your needle and we'll start sewing. You want your yarn tail to be at the bottom. Start by inserting your needle into the body right below where the yarn is, then go under and around 1 stitch and bring it through on the other side of it. Perfect, and now insert your needle upwards through the very first stitch of the nose. Pull it nice and tight. Then insert your needle going down through the next stitch of the nose. Now we're going to insert our needle into the body again. Go in the space where we previously came out of, and we want to follow the curve of the snout, so I'm going to bring my needle through, going up and diagonally around this stitch. Insert your needle up into the stitch of the nose that we'd previously come out of, and pull it all the way through. Then go down through the next stitch of the nose. And now we'll go back into the body in the same space we just came out of and following the curve of the nose, so I'll go upwards this time. Continue like that all the way around the nose, going up through the previous stitch of the nose, down through the next, then back into the body where we came out before, bringing it through following the curve. This is sped up, but you can slow it down below, and I'll meet you at the end to finish it. So I'm going down through the last stitch that's on the nose right now. And to finish, I'm going to insert my needle into the body where I had just come out and come out on the other side of the stitch. Now I'm going to go back in the body where I just came out, bring my needle through on the other side of the stitch, but don't pull it all the way through. Leave a loop and we're going to make a knot. There's my loop. Insert the needle and pull it nice and tight. I made a really loose knot that I should have redone, but I'm just going to do this little maneuver to hide it a bit better. But we're going to finish this by bringing the end in and out of the head a couple times, then you can trim the excess and fully hide it inside. Great job, everyone. Grab your black yarn and we'll embroider the lines on his nose. Start by inserting your needle into his head from the side and bring it out right in the middle of round 1. And bring a lot of yarn through it as well, leaving just a little bit sticking out from the side. We want to insert our needle directly up from this point, going past one row. Then bring your needle out on the other side of the stitch to the left. Now skip about 2 or 3 stitches and insert your needle into the nose directly across from it and bring it out in the same space. Perfect. Do that one more time to thicken the line. And now insert your needle back into the spot and bring it out where your tail is sticking out on the side. Then we'll finish it by trimming it, double knotting the ends, trimming it again, and hiding it away inside. So cute. Great job, everyone. Grab your clothing and cap, and we're going to sew those together now. Thread your needle with the long yarn tail from the clothing. Insert the needle going from the back to the front through the very first stitch of the clothing and pull it all the way through. Now insert your needle through the very first stitch of the cap. It'll be the one to the right of the knot, going from the inside to the outside or towards you. And repeat, going from the back through the front of the next stitch of the clothing, then back to the cap. Skip the chain 1 and slip stitch and insert into the next stitch going from the inside to the outside. Continue like that all the way across. I'll show you a few more sped up and then I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. So I'm inserting my needle through the very last stitch of the clothing now. And then I'll insert my needle into the next stitch of the cap. Great sewing, everyone. If this looks a little off on the other side, give the yarn a tug to tighten it up and we'll fully fix it soon. But next we're going to sew this onto the body. Before we start sewing, check this out from all angles and make sure that it's centered on the body. When you're ready, insert the needle into the other side of this stitch on the cap where we currently are and pull it all the way through and check one more time that you're happy with how everything looks. When you're ready, insert the needle into the body on the other side of the stitch that's touching the edge of the clothing and bring it out right on the edge of the clothing. Now we're going to pin it down in the middle. Make sure it's still centered on him. Then insert your needle into the body and bring it out in the middle of the back of the body. Go behind and around the stitch on the clothing that's right on top of where your yarn is coming out and pull it through nice and tight, but make sure that you don't warp the front where we've already sewn. Then insert your needle back into the body and bring it out right where the other front edge of the clothing is. There we go. Now we're going to insert the needle going from the inside to the outside through the very first stitch of the clothing. And then to fix this gap, go through the first stitch of the cap that's already been sewn into, going from the inside to the outside, and pull it nice and tight. Now to finish, we're going to double knot these ends together, trim the excess, and hide them away inside. Great job, everyone. Next, we'll sew his scarf on. We're going to sew it in the back, so make sure that your long tail is positioned on the top right, then thread your needle and place him in the middle of the scarf. We're going to go from the inside to the outside or towards you through the side of the first row. Then do that again on the other side of the scarf. Insert going towards you and pull it all the way through nice and tight. Then do that again for the next row. Then do that again for the next row. Perfect. Then insert your needle through this one loop on the very bottom, and then go through the stitch on the very bottom on the other side. Now bring both of the ends through the clothing, straight down into the body, and bring it out a few rows below. Finish by double knotting the ends, trimming the excess, and hiding it away. And next, we'll sew on the ears. So I already attached the first one. We want them to be on round 7, which is also the third from the end. And we want them to be about 8 stitches apart. So count 8 stitches that look like the middle and do this first step with both ears. Figure out where you think the ear looks good and thread your magic ring end, the one coming from the back. Then insert your needle right under the stitch it's on top of, going all the way through into the head and bring it out through the front of the head. And like I said, do that with both of your ears. See how you like the ears and adjust as necessary, making sure you have 8 stitches between them. Then, when you're ready, you're going to insert your needle around the 9th stitch going towards the ear. Then insert your needle going upwards through the slip stitch, and then down through the very first stitch of the ear. And when you do the other ear, it'll be up through the first stitch and down through the slip stitch. Then insert your needle back through the cap, down into the head, and bring it out where your other yarn tail is. Then finish as normal. Double knot them, trim the excess, and hide them away. All right, and now you can finish sewing the second ear and then we'll attach the arms. So I did the first arm already. We want it to be sewn onto row 1 of the clothing, right along the edge of the scarf, almost tucked under, but not quite. So push your scarf up and we'll be sewing right at the bottom of the row. We'll skip the first 2 stitches and sew it around these 2. So make sure your magic ring end is tucked away inside the arm. Then shift the arm around so that the knot from fastening off is on the side of the arm. And then lightly pinch it so that you can see 2 rows of 3 stitches. Then insert your needle going away from you through the first set of stitches, which is the first and last stitch of the round. Pull it through nice and tight. Then insert your needle down and around the 4th stitch of the clothing, going from the back of the body towards the front. Then insert your needle going towards you through the second set of stitches on the arm, so the 2nd and 5th stitches of the round. Pull it nice and tight. Then go down through the last set of stitches on the arm. Now go down and around the 3rd stitch of the clothing. Now go back down through the space we're coming out of right now and figure out where the arm is touching the body. And go in and around those 2 stitches on the body. Pull it through nice and tight. Now go back up through the clothing where we first started sewing, and we're going to make it less floppy. Insert your needle up through the first set of stitches on the arm again, then back down into the same spot on the clothing. Then go back around those 2 stitches on the body again, but going towards the front of the bear this time. Now insert your needle under this bit of yarn going from the clothing to the body, and we'll make a knot. Leave a loop, insert your needle, and pull it nice and tight. Now you can trim the excess and hide it away, and next we're going to sew the feet on. Make sure your magic ring end is tucked away inside the foot and that your knot from the other end is on the side. We want to sew the feet on around round 18. So it's the 4th from the bottom or the very last row that has plain single crochet all the way around. Place it a bit on the side, a stitch or 2 away from the edge of the clothing. Then when you're happy, we'll start sewing. We need to follow the curve of the foot, so insert your needle going upwards into the body and come out on the other side so that you're coming out right where the edge of the foot is. Then insert your needle going up through the first stitch of the foot, then down through the next stitch. Now insert your needle back into the body where we came out of previously and come out on the other side of the stitch, again following the curve of the foot. Then go back up through the previous stitch of the foot and down through the next. Continue like that all the way around, just working around these 2 or 3 stitches of round 18 so that it stays a little flat, and then I'll meet you at the end to finish up. So I'm going down through the last stitch of the foot now. And now to finish, we're going to insert the needle down into the stitch right where we are and bring it out on the bottom of the body. Sew your second foot the same way and bring that end out in the same space as this one, then finish as normal by double knotting them, trimming the excess, and hiding it away. Our last bit of sewing, we're going to attach the short stick to the long one. Grab your shorter stick and twist and stuff the magic ring end inside of it. Then thread the other end, and when you're ready, we'll start sewing. We're going to attach it to round 4 of the long one. Insert your needle into the bottom of the row, going around a stitch of the long stick. Then up through the first stitch of the short one, and down through the next stitch. Then back to the long stick, go in and upwards this time, and pull it all the way through. Then go back up through the previous stitch of the short one, and down through the next. Now back to the long stick, going downwards around a stitch, pull it all the way nice and tight, and then we'll knot it. Find a little loop right next to where the yarn is coming out of and insert your needle into it and pull it through, leaving a loop. Insert your needle in there and pull it tight and make the knot. Alrighty, so we're going to leave this yarn tail alone for now, and we're going to grab the green yarn and we're going to add the finishing detail. Begin by threading the needle, and then insert it going up past a row or 2, and then just have some fun. Play around with it until you like how it looks. A little tip would be to focus on making a couple crisscrosses or X's with it, but this is a chance to make it unique and special to you. Once you're happy with it, insert your needle underneath some of the yarn where you'd like the wrapping to end and bring it out where your original end is. Make a knot, trim the excess, and hide it away inside the stick. So cute. Great job, everyone. Now let's attach this to his hand. Thread your needle with the brown yarn, and then we need to figure out where we want the stick and his hand to be touching. And once you've done that, bring the yarn down to that spot. Now double check where you want this to be touching his hand. I'm going to go for the second row. So insert your needle into that spot going upwards and come out on the other side of the stitch. Pull it tight, and it's that easy. Now insert it back into the stick and bring it out in a random spot that's a little hidden, and we'll make a knot. So I'm just going to insert my needle into a little loop near where my yarn's coming out and pull it through, leaving a loop that I'll insert my needle into and pull tight to make the knot. When you're done, finish this by trimming the excess and hiding it away inside the stick. Our last step is to hide this little end on the clothing. Go through these loops of the first 2 stitches on the bottom row, then go up to the next row and insert your needle through all of these V's until your needle is full. Thread it if you haven't already, then pull it through super tight. You want the clothing to scrunch up a bit. Then you can trim the excess, then stretch the clothing back out, and it should all be hidden. And now Grun, the Druid Bear, is officially finished. Thanks so much for joining me to make this. I hope you love yours as much as I love mine, and I'll see you next time.